Guys, whatever it is you're doing, stop what you're doing. And for God's sakes, double check to see if you've brought in the wheat. On today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, we're going to talk about Alpha Rob like that one. We're going to talk about Fallout becoming the #1 original streaming series on TV. Also, Hot Toys, for the first time in their existence, have scrapped a toy that has been in production, which is an Ezra Miller Flash toy. We're going to talk about the ramifications of that. Also, the Wild Robot, we just talked about this yesterday, moved off of the release date that Transformers 1 is also on. Why, a lot of people have been asking, isn't the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare playing in a lot of countries? We're going to answer that question. And then we're going to talk about Rebel Moon 2. That and a few things more. The John Campea Show podcast starts right now. Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio, brought to you in part by our friends at The Wellness Company and Liquid IV. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, and all sorts of good stuff. Not just giving you our opinions, but hopefully giving you some information and context so you guys can form your own well-informed opinions, whether they're the same or completely different than ours. Joining us in studio today, of course, got Ray Ora.
Hey.
We got Jonathan Voico.
Hey, everybody.
Writer, director, producer, Robert Meyer Burnett.
Hey.
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making this show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're first going to start off by talking about those topics that I listed off. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. Now, if you haven't already sent in a live comment or question, you can't. No, they're already filled up before the show even started. So the super chats are already turned off. But we'll get to those in the second part of the show. All right. With that all down, let's start things off here, shall we? And let's get things going with this. Fallout. A show that a lot of us were really excited about when they announced it, because that whole trend of, all video game movies and TV shows sucking has started to turn around. Sonic was a gem. Last of Us is one of the greatest shows ever. So we've started to see that whole thing start to turn around. So they announced Fallout, and the first trailer looked great. And you had Walton Goggins involved with that. And whenever Walton Goggins is involved with something, you've got my interest. I'm instantly piqued. Got a little bit concerned where they said they were dropping all the episodes at once. That kind of suggested to me that maybe they didn't have a lot of confidence in it. But the show was really solid. I thoroughly enjoyed the program. It's, again, for me, it's not in the top tier of shows of the last couple of years, but it's really good. I enjoyed the finale. I cannot wait for season 2. And it looks like I wasn't the only one, because according to reports like this one in Variety, Fallout last week was the #1 streaming show, original show in the world. Now, this is impressive by itself, but when you consider the fact that a lot more people have Netflix than watch Amazon Prime Video, that makes it even more impressive. Now, the chart looks like this. Fallout came in at #1, unlocked a jail experiment, which has scared Ray straight. He never wants to go to jail now after watching that. The big Netflix hit Baby Reindeer is at #3. Ripley, also a Netflix series, at #4. And Three Body Problem.
Yeah.
Still in there. Still in the top 5. But here's the thing that makes this really impressive. It's not just that Fallout is #1. It's by how much it's #1 by. For example, let's look at the #3 show, Baby Reindeer. In the time frame we're talking about, it had 354.7 million minutes of streaming. 354.7 million minutes of streaming. That was the #3. At #2, unlocked a jail experiment, jumped double that, well more than double of that, at 793.1 million minutes. All right. So we've got Baby Reindeer, 354.7 at #3. At #2, unlocked a jail experiment at 793.1 million. Fallout had 2.5 billion
Wow.
minutes of streaming. Like, so it's not just that it was number one. It was how much it was number one by. And it's kind of interesting because it puts it on equal footing with the Netflix shows, because those Netflix shows all drop all their episodes at once, which of course contributes to how many minutes get watched in the week, because you don't have to just watch one episode. People can watch 8 episodes in the week if they want to. Mm-hmm. So that put Fallout on the same footing as the Netflix series. And with how many episodes of Fallout were there? 8?
Yeah.
8 episodes of Fallout equal 2.5 billion minutes of streaming. Now, I already saw a lot of people say, wow, Shogun mustn't have done that well. Remember, Shogun puts out 1 episode a week. So you only have so many minutes every week that you can watch of it. But that puts us on the equal footing with that. But to see it, Amazon video show. By the way, speaking of Amazon, they also announced that Fallout has already become one of the top 3 shows Amazon has ever put out. I think The Boys is up there, and maybe Gen V as well. I can't remember what the other ones were. But what a rollout for something like Fallout. That's amazing. Rob, you see these numbers. What stands out to you the most?
Well, I mean, it shows that great genre programming is still a favorite with everyone. I think that Fallout, it's a great example of something that knows what it is and delivered on its promise. I mean, it's not like Fallout is Schindler's List.
Right.
It's based on a fun video game, and I think that Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy took this thing and they did exactly what their mandate was. Let's adapt it for TV. It's beautifully made. It's really well cast. It's a hoot to watch. And I think it just entertains you on every level. And I think it's a perfect example of people that are working on a project that know exactly what their job was, which is deliver a great adaptation of this beloved video game. Dude, I was surprised. I mean, I thought the first episode was a hoot. And I started, I was going to go to bed after 1 episode, but I didn't. I kept watching late into the evening and thoroughly entertained. I finally finished it. And look, do I think it's Lawrence of Arabia? No. But it was exactly what it was supposed to be, and it delivered for me exactly what I wanted from it. And I think it's that way for everybody. It's fun.
Yeah, like I said, I had some people got upset with me because I said, and I still hold to this, like Fallout is not Shogun. It's not Last of Us. It's not House of the Dragon. That's the top shelf. But I think it's a great show.
Yeah, and it's what it's supposed to be.
And you know what? The finale, although I won't go into any spoilers or anything like that, but the finale actually really increased the depth of the show overall. Yeah. I thought they did a great job with the finale, and I couldn't be happier for its success right now. Although, I mean, when you're putting it up against those Netflix shows that have so many subscribers, and you're literally more than tripling the view time of the second place show, that's pretty impressive. So good for them. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about the success that Fallout is happening? Are you happy for it? Maybe you didn't like the show. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? One of the big, what's the good word for it? They say some things, there are status symbols. Some people that have a certain car, wear a certain watch. In geek circles, Hot Toys seem to be your status symbol.
Never heard of them.
It seems to determine how much of a geek you really are if you have the Hot Toys. And of course, Hot Toys make beautiful, wonderful product. And whenever they announce a product and they say you can pre-order it, all that kind of stuff, that product in the history of Hot Toys apparently always comes out. That is until now. Because according to this story over in CBR, look at how good that face sculpt is. This Ezra Miller Hot Toy from the Flash movie has been canceled. Hot Toys, it says over at CBR, will no longer release an action figure for Ezra Miller's quote-unquote young Barry Allen as seen in The Flash. On Tuesday, the company announced that the figure is one of 2 that has been canceled, apologizing to anybody inconvenienced for the decision. The company noted that the figures have been canceled, quote unquote, due to unforeseen market alteration. One of the two is a 1/6 scale figure of Young Barry from The Flash, which includes a highly detailed collectible figure along with an alternative deluxe version. The other figure canceled is a 1/6 scale of the Sicarian Iron Man collectible figure for Marvel's What If, so just the animated thing. Yeah. If this appears to be the first time that Hot Toys has ever canceled what were already in production. And by the way, they got some images here. Well, there's the Iron Man Sicarian one, which is again was from one episode of What If. I don't think anybody really cared all that much.
Clearly.
But this Flash one looked really good.
Oh, he's got the Batman like hood.
Yeah,
on
because
that.
it's the young thing. He's got the Batman symbol on his chest that he's painted over with the yellow lightning and all that kind of stuff. It's a good looking figure. It's a really good looking figure. And the sawed off ears of the Batman cowl. But I mean, apparently the article goes on to talk about how there was like no pre-orders for these things. Like they were just done.
Rob.
Yeah, except for Rob, the one.
Nope.
Some guy in California.
One of one.
One of one. So it's worth quite a bit. No, I mean, so they said that. And look, I think this is maybe beating a dead horse, but it kind of puts an explanation point, I think, on the fact that Ezra Miller, who may return someday, hopefully after getting some help and you know, dealing with a bunch of the things that he has to deal with at this point, hopefully we'll be able to come back someday and regain a career. But I think this kind of puts the explanation point on that there is no career for Ezra Miller right now. They talked recently about the fact that even Invincible Season 2, even though he was just a voice on the show, they dropped him from that. Last I checked, Ray, and maybe you can fact check this for me, Ezra Miller's IMDb page has nothing in the pipeline coming down. And, you know, whether it was, and I really don't think it's The Flash. I think it was the Ezra Miller drama, the Ezra Miller nonsense that kind of did this. Anyway, Rob, as somebody who has collected well over 300,000 Hot Toys.
There's no more upcoming section in his profile.
In his IMDb, so nothing's coming up.
Yeah.
Number one, have you ever heard of Hot Toys pulling the plug on something once it's been announced? And what does this say that they're pulling this one?
Well, Hot Toys, they do have a history of showing things at like Comic-Con and not making them, but they've never actually solicited, from what I remember, solicited a figure and then not made it. And I have to tell you, both of these, like, they're still making Flash figures. They're doing a cool Keaton figure. I can't wait to get the Supergirl figure from the Flash. It's a great figure. And I think they're doing a regular Ezra Miller Flash. But I have to tell you, John, I even went on record on a different show months ago. When I saw this Sicarian Iron Man, I'm like, this is just ugly. Right. You know, and I love their Iron Man figures have been their bread and butter. I mean, their die-cast Iron Man armor, whether it's War Machine, whether it's Iron Patriot, and whether it's the endless supply of Iron Man figures they've made, are not only great Hot Toys figures, they're some of the greatest toys ever made, ever, in terms of their engineering. They're absolutely astounding pieces of, I mean, if you could say that about a toy, but amazing. But that Sicarian Iron Man, awful. And then the Barry, just because it's a terrible design, and I'm sure that I'm going to get roasted for this, but I hated it. And then the Barry Allen figure, look, they solicit these figures when the movie comes out. They don't know how well the movie's going to do. The Ezra Miller head sculpt with the long hair, and then he took Batman's armor and painted over it. Who wants that? It's not cool. It's never going to be cool. And on your shelf, you can try and make it as cool as you want, but unless he's being stomped on by Hulk, what are you going to use that figure for? It was just not good. It was a character nobody wanted, and it was a figure that, while look, Hot Toys does great work. It's a beautiful recreation of that particular iteration of the character, but who wants that? I want the Flash. It'll be my second Hot Toy Barry Allen Ezra Miller Flash. I have the Justice League Flash, great figure, and I will be getting the regular Flash figure. So suck it, Ezra Miller haters. I do not apologize.
It's movie memorabilia. Like sometimes if you like the movie, which all of us did, right?
Yeah, I like it.
I mean, you want to have something. If you have, the ends or the means, you want some memorabilia from it. I know Jonathan was looking at the Batman stuff or whatever.
I mean, those two. Look at that picture you got up there right now, Ray. look, that Flash, they're going to do that, and they're doing Supergirl.
Wait, are
And-
those figures on the screen or are
No,
those?
that's-
No,
from
that's the shot from the movie.
No,
I don't have my glasses on. That's why.
but that Supergirl costume was beautiful. I loved her,
Yeah.
and that Barry Allen Flash costume is great. But look at Ramshackle Flash behind him.
yeah.
Ramshackle Flash.
Ramshackle Flash.
It's gonna be my blues moniker.
All right, guys.
That's my new
Question
band
is for you. What do you think about this? They've canceled for the first time in their history a figure, and it's Ezra Miller's figure. Also included that is a little known, barely seen, like one shot thing from Iron Man. They
It's
included
just
them
ugly.
there.
It's not cool.
Yeah, and nobody ordered it as well. Whatever you guys think about this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, listen, before we go on, we're being told by people in the live chat, I'm seeing that there's streaming issues. I can tell you this for 100% certain. The problem is not on our end. We are showing on YouTube Studio, showing we have the stream status is excellent. It's not just good. It says it's consistent, it's healthy, and it's excellent, which means YouTube itself is having issues with the stream. So instead of going through this anymore, we are going to end the live stream right now. And we are going to continue on with the show, recording the show, and then we will upload the show a little bit later this afternoon. So you guys will get the full show. But if YouTube isn't going to work properly, then we might have to stop doing live streams altogether again. So anyway, thank you for joining us. If you've been joining us live, we are now going to end the live stream, but we're going to continue recording the show, and the full show will go up a little bit later. So we will talk to you guys who are watching live later. All right. I've ended the live stream, but we are now going to continue on recording the show, and we'll put this up in its full glory a little bit later. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, yesterday on the John Campea Show, we were talking about the fact that we had two big major animated films coming out, and they were releasing on the exact same day. That is Transformers 1, and it's the new Lupita Nyong'o animated film, The Wild Robot, both scheduled to open on September 20th. Now, movies open on the same day all the time, but very rarely will you get movies appealing to the same demographic. That you don't often, if ever, get two comic book movies opening on the same day, or two disaster movies opening on the same day, or two rom-coms opening on the same day, or two big animated feature films opening on the same day. Well, that's what we had. So on yesterday's John Campea Show, we asked two questions. Number one, will one of them move? And number two, if one of them moves, which one moves? To which we answered, one, yes, I believe one of them will move. And two, the one I think will move is The Wild Robot. 3 hours after the John Campea Show ended, I can only assume the studio heads were watching the show, because the announcement came out that Wild Robot, a release date, had been delayed. Not by much, just by 1 week. This comes to us from the folks over at Coming Soon, who wrote, per deadline, DreamWorks Animation has officially changed the Wild Robot release date for the upcoming adaptation of Peter Brown's best-selling children's book of the same name. Originally scheduled for a September 20th release, the film has been slightly pushed back for a week and will now arrive in theaters on September 27th, 2024. The animated movie will be debuting in the same month as high-profile movies, including Transformers 1 and Beetlejuice. Okay. So it hasn't moved much, just moved 1 week, but that 1 week move can make all the difference in the world. So as we kind of thought and predicted, one of them did move, and one of them, the one that moved, was indeed Wild Robot. Again, not because I think they were afraid of Transformers 1. I think it's just the fact that they both studios had to understand, we're only hurting ourselves if we try to both put out these movies on the same day. Let's one of us move. And they probably I'm guessing, Rob, they probably had discussions amongst themselves. They probably talked to each other and came up with a compromise that one of them moves by a week. And I think this kind of fixes the problem. I mean, 1 week separation isn't ideal, but it's a lot better than both of them opening on the same day. What did you think about this?
Well, I mean, it was weird that they were coming out on the same day anyway. I mean, obviously they're sharing, I would imagine, people that like animated films, family audiences. They're targeting the same people. Now, Transformers, obviously, more boy oriented, I think, probably. But, what is it, the Wild Robot? Mm-hmm. The Wild Robot, hey, I want to meet a wild robot. But still, it's like, why would you even do this in the first place? Like, how did somebody not think, like, perhaps we shouldn't do this? Because it's the same demographic. So I don't think they really had a choice. But obviously, Transformers is a brand name. Transformers is, you plant your flag. I would not want to ever go up against the Transformers with an unknown quantity. As beautiful as that movie looks, and we all love Lupita Nyong'o, who's one of the most beautiful women in the world, I still think that's a good move that they've taken it off that date.
Here's the thing. I think Wild Robot makes more money at the box office than Transformers 1.
Probably. But that's when people have to see it first.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because, and I say that only because I think, and we were talking about this on the show yesterday, like, so far, I personally like the Transformers 1 stuff we've seen. But I think the Wild Robot stuff we've seen has been better.
Oh yeah, and people Transformers fans are roasting the Transformers 1.
I know, which is idiotic because here's the thing too. This is the part that to me is idiotic. I see people say, "Well, it just looks silly." Have you seen the original G1 Transformers cartoons? You think Sparkplug was heavy drama? I mean, anyway, right?
Soundwave.
I'm just trying to read up on, because also, like I brought up yesterday, Transformers 1 is going to be in 3D too.
Well, if you want to go see it in 3D,
but those screens are limited too, right? The 3D screens, or
yes.
It appears Wild Robot is coming out in 3D too as well.
I mean, I don't think that's important. Like, I think a lot of movies will have the option to see in 3D. I have no desire to watch any shit in 3D. I'm not going to go see either of them in 3D, but those options will be there for some people. I don't really think it's going to make a big difference one way or the other.
Okay.
So anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Wild Robot has moved. Now, granted, only by a week, but now we won't have Transformers and Wild Robot opening on the exact same day. Good move? Do you think it should have moved even further? Maybe you don't think they needed to move at all. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we still need to talk about why on earth hasn't the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare opened in so many countries around the world? Why only in the US? And also, we need to talk about Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scar Giver, because it has scarred my soul. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at The Wellness Company. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of today's video, The Wellness Company. Okay, so you wake up with a scratchy throat, congestion, runny nose, and cough. You know your body. You know you're getting sick. So your choices are tough it out, get sick and take time off work, or hope the doctor can see you this month, or wait 2 hours at urgent care and sit in a room full of sick people, or open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to the doctor-recommended prescription. Start on the right meds and nip this in the bud now. Your medical emergency kit is not a first aid kit. It comes with doctor-prescribed meds to treat over 39 medical issues. Strong antibiotics for infections of all types, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, bronchitis, and so much more. Plus, a doctor's easy guide so you'll know exactly what to take and when. There's no waiting to see the doctor, no waiting at the pharmacy. It's all in here. Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit. Order yours online in just minutes. Your kit will be rushed right to your door, and you can get 15% off at twc.health/Campea and use promo code Campea when you check out. That's promo code Campea at twc.health/Campea. And thank you to our friends at The Wellness Company for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this, shall we? This week, my boy Henry.
Good boy.
Henry Cavill's new film, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, opened in some theaters. At least it went wide in the United States of America. But here on the John Campea Show, we've had a bunch of people writing in, our international friends, saying, John, can you tell me why, like, I live here. Why isn't it playing in theaters here? Hey, John, I live in the UK. I'm not seeing it in theaters anywhere. Hey, John, I live in Canada. I'm not seeing it in any theaters here. And, we didn't know why. We just said off the top of our heads, well, maybe they're doing a delayed rollout or whatever, but apparently they're just not opening in a lot of those countries, period. And now we know why. And this comes to us from our fellow good Canadian site, Joe Blow, wrote this. According to Yahoo, the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare will not screen in UK cinemas. Instead, the film will stream on Amazon Prime Video in territories like the United Kingdom and Canada, robbing certain areas of the big screen experience. It's safe to assume that Amazon plans to attract or try to attract more subscribers to its streaming service by debuting the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare on Prime Video, but at what cost? Judging by the trailer, Ministry looks like the type of explosive action film made for the silver screen. Will a streaming release sour potential viewers altogether? All right. So basically, look, when a movie gets made, you know, a production company will then go and find a distribution company. Now, some of the bigger studios like Walt Disney, Warner Brothers, they actually have their own distribution arms. So that takes care of it. They do all that in-house. Unless, you know, you're Spider-Man, in which case you get produced by Marvel over at Disney, but Sony gets to distribute. Anyway, so once they make a movie, they then try to sell it to distributors. And you sell it in different markets. There's the American market, then there's European market, whatever. You have different territories and markets. So while one distribution company picked up the North American rights and put it in theaters here, Amazon Video got the rights to distribute it in a lot of international markets. And apparently the deal was in 8 figures, which means minimum $10 million. Minimum. So anywhere up to $99 million. So they spent a lot of money to have the international distribution rights, and Amazon has decided in all their wisdom to not put it in theaters in those markets, but rather they're just going to have it debut on Amazon Prime.
Oh, wonderful.
Which is a stupid decision. And I say this, I'm a big Amazon fan, man. I love what they've been doing with a lot of their stuff. I'm a big Amazon fan, but this is a monumentally stupid decision because, Rob, we have seen time and time and time again, example after example after example, report after report after report, prove that if you want a big launch of something on your streaming service, make sure it had a theatrical release first. Every time they try to study this, it proves it that your launch on streaming will be bigger if it had a theatrical launch first. So I don't really know what Amazon is doing here. I don't know if maybe they're just experimenting. Like maybe I think they were experimenting with season 1 of Fallout, but I don't know. I saw this. And I feel really bad for people in other countries who are not going to be able to see this in theaters the way it was meant to be seen. But I don't know. What do you think about this report?
Well, like you, it's dumb. I mean, it goes all the way back to what like Netflix did with Glass Onion. They gave it sort of a half-hearted theatrical release, kept it in theaters for, a week. I mean, I just see this as losing money. I just see this as these streamers are this movie, I have not heard one person say they didn't like it. Everybody that I know that went has liked this film. And I don't understand why, like let's say this movie cost $100 million. Let's say it did. Wouldn't you want to get that money back? Like if you could, like if you just put it on your streaming service, that money's not going to come back to you. It's not. You get it in subscriptions or other ways, but you're going to get it that way anyway. I mean, you're going to put it on your streaming service. More people who are more aware of it are going to watch it. The people that liked it in the theater are going to watch it again. And the people that heard how good it was in the theater are going to watch it. So it's a win-win. Get your movie paid for. I just don't understand the economics behind leaving money on a table. You're not getting paid. Put these movies out in theaters. You win all the way around. Now, someone could say, well, Rob, what about marketing costs? Yeah, roll that in there. But if you have a movie like this, how many times have you been written to, John, where people are like, why isn't this movie opening in our country?
A lot this week. The last week or so, we've been getting that from so many people.
That's all money that Amazon will never see.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they thought they would make more money from making a deal with Amazon than in these countries. I don't know.
No, but it's Amazon made the decision to put it on streaming. So Amazon got the rights. So Amazon has the rights to distribute the film, and they have distributed films theatrically.
Sure.
and have done well when they've distributed films theatrically. And then, but Amazon, having secured the distribution rights, made the decision, we're just going to put it straight to our streaming service.
I just love the fact this movie has Winston Churchill as a character and it's not being released in the UK.
Isn't that crazy?
Guy Ritchie he represents all that is good about the UK. Him and Danny Boyle. And like, how do you not release a quintessentially UK World War II story, but not coming out
Who's
the
the guy who created Sherlock Holmes? Arthur Conan Doyle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It literally has Arthur Conan Doyle in the movie, a guy playing him, and the guy who inspired him to create the James Bond character. How more UK can you get?
Just need fish and chips.
Yeah, like fish and chips. Put Queen Elizabeth in it. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know much more.
I mean,
How
I
do you not
want
put
a
this in
Guinness
theaters?
and a cider mixed together with a snake bite. I want to go into the theater in the Odeon cinema, in the UK and see this. And you can't?
No,
That's weird, dude.
it's
It's
just
everything wrong with the planet Earth
Well,
rolled into one.
Also, too, it's like Amazon's just making that executive decision. Like only North American audience, actually only American audiences get to see this in theaters. Everyone else has to watch it on their phone.
Yeah,
So it's like, come
I don't
And it's a
understand.
Guy Ritchie movie. Even Guy Ritchie movies that I don't love are still fun to watch in a theater.
Oh,
I
100%.
don't think that I've ever not. Maybe the one he made with Madonna wasn't so good.
But
hey,
did you see Operation Fortune that he did with Jason
yeah, I
Statham?
did, but
that
not in the
was
theater.
really fun.
It was fun.
And I'm so glad I got to see that in theater. And guess
I
what?
didn't.
I then later watched it on streaming
Yeah,
because I saw it in theater.
and you liked it.
If it had just been dropped in streaming, I never would have watched it. So I don't know. Anyway, guys, question is for you. No, do you feel better now that you have an answer as to why maybe in the country you live in, and by it's not just the UK and Canada, it's a lot of others as well. Now you got an answer because they've decided they want to hold off on it until they can put it on Amazon Prime
It's
Video.
not in the UK.
It's
That's just the dumbest thing
I
I've
know,
ever heard.
such a fundamentally UK movie, and it's not in theaters.
That's
in
like
the
not
UK.
releasing Dunkirk in the UK.
Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? So I watched Rebel Moon 2.
Why?
I know.
Dude,
Scargiver.
It gave you scars.
It scarred my brain.
on your eternal soul.
Now, listen, before we dive into the horrendous awfulness of this terrible movie, I want to remind everybody, just as context, I am a big Zack Snyder fan. Before Rebel Moons, there's only ever been one Zack Snyder film I didn't like. And that was the Zack Snyder film that even Zack Snyder doesn't like, which is Sucker Punch. That's it. I didn't love Watchmen, but I didn't dislike it. I liked it. The Owls of Gaul, I think, is a treasure of an underrated film. I really enjoyed his Batman versus Superman more than most people did. I really enjoyed both versions of Justice League. And obviously, the utter masterpiece, and I'll always be grateful to Zack Snyder for creating, I think, the most underrated comic book film of all time in Man of Steel. I still got the big standee over here in the corner. You can't see it right now, but it's there, trust me. Of course, the classic 300. And I know not everybody did, but I even had a good time in theaters watching his first Netflix film, Army of the Dead. You can go back and watch all my reviews of all this stuff. I am a Zack Snyder fan. Except for Sucker Punch. Then Rebel Moon Part 1 came out. It was terrible. And I heard from a lot of people that Rebel Moon Part 2 was also terrible, but at least a little bit better than the first one. No, it's not. This movie is dreadfully awful. Like, I couldn't believe my eyes of just how bad this movie is. Now, listen, let me give one other little asterisk here and a little preface to this. If you are somebody who enjoyed this movie, the beautiful thing about the art of movie making and TV is that it's all subjective. And if you watched it and it clicked for you and you had a good time, awesome. I'm not putting you down. I celebrate that. I'm actually jealous of you because I wish I liked it. I want, like Rob often says, I want everybody to like every movie we ever watch. So I'm only talking about my experience. I'm not trying to undermine or devalue your experience. If you liked it, I celebrate that. But my job here is to tell you what my experience was like. Rob, I put up on the community tab on our YouTube channel last night, I said, I was pretty sure I was not going to watch a worse movie this year than Madam Web. And then I saw Rebel Moon Part 2. This, on almost every level, save what Zack Snyder does best. Some of his visual composition. There is some very good visual composition in this movie. And I will always get, Zack Snyder is a great visual storyteller. He really is. That's always where he shines. But from a fundamental filmmaking point of view, everything was wrong with this movie. From, you know, the classic line they always say about filmmaking, show, don't tell. No, not here. Screw that. You know what we need? Exposition time, exposition time, exposition time. So as soon as somebody asks somebody a question, hey, what about this? Close up of face. Back when I was blah. And they go into this 5-minute exposition dump. And every exposition dump, don't forget, needs to start in slow-mo. Everything's got to be an exposition dump and then everything done in slow-mo. And it was just over and over and over again. And then some of the most boring, predictable cliches of every one-dimensional character. And it was just, nothing was interesting. Nothing drew me in. Even putting the great performances in there of Jaimon Hansu, who I've been a massive fan ever since his Spielberg film Amistad.
And by the way, he gives it his all in this movie.
He gives everything he's got in it.
He really does.
Everything he's got.
He's not phoning it in.
And just, and listen, I've been an admirer and really like Sofia Boutella in small supporting roles. When Sofia Boutella's in a small supporting role, she can elevate a film. Rebel Moon 1 and 2 have proved she's not ready to lead a film. She's just not there. Not yet. It reminds me a lot of John Cena a few years ago. It's like John Cena in small comedic supporting roles can really elevate a film, but he, like that film Blockers he did, proved he wasn't ready yet to be the lead. Fast forward a few more years, he is ready to be a lead. Great. And maybe I hope Sofia Boutella can get there too, because I really like her. But I mean, it was just so horrendously bad and difficult for me to get through. I just couldn't believe what I was watching. And then it ends with, oh, wait a second. You didn't know the princess was alive? What? She's alive? Let's go save the princess. It's like, God, no. Leave the princess wherever she is. Maybe she's got Netflix. Maybe she's comfortable. Maybe she's got a Nintendo Game Boy. Wherever the princess is right now, let her stay there. Because I'm sure Netflix will go back and probably make another one of these. I can tell you right now, I'm not going to watch it. I'm done. Unless a third one comes out and then everybody comes back and says, actually, they really turned it around. It's great now. Then I'll be there. I am going to wait until Zack Snyder makes something else. Because I still believe in Zack Snyder. Right? He's made enough really good films that I have personally really enjoyed that I continue to believe in Zack Snyder. I just don't believe in this particular product of his.
We just need the extended cut.
Oh, yeah. Don't even get me going on this extended cut. Now, whoa, wait, no, John, you don't understand. It's on Netflix. It doesn't matter what the runtime is. Netflix put out The Irishman, for heaven's sakes, which was 3 hours and 40 minutes. This is all just, the whole director's cut thing is just marketing bullshit.
Okay, I watched it too. I finally finished it.
You got through it?
Yeah.
On what, your fourth try?
No. It was one try.
No, you said you tried three different
Yeah.
times.
But it was one try yesterday.
Oh, one try yesterday.
So I started it.
Oh, he did a redo.
Yeah, the 3 times were within the first 20 minutes. The 25 minutes.
You checked out.
Yeah. I tend to look at the bright side of things, right?
Is there one?
No, hold on. Like, yeah, give me a. The drama in it was over dramatic, right? The slow-mo is overused, but I did love the visuals that we got, and some of the action was very good. Here's the thing, like, I appreciate that this wasn't in theaters like Madam Web was, because like unless you signed up
so does my pocketbook.
unless you signed up for Netflix just for this movie, you're like in the minority. Most of everyone had Netflix already. It was an option that was there. You had an option to watch it. For me, when it got to the back half, I couldn't turn it off because I liked the action I was seeing. I liked what I don't know about the story itself. It was trash, but I did like what I was seeing, and no one could take me away from watching it. I was like, I'm gonna finish this. And to be honest, if a third one came out, I would watch it. I don't know why, because it's not. You could choose to stop it if you want, if you're not having good. But me, I just from the second half on, when the action started, I was like attached to the screen. I don't know why. I know it's a bad movie, but for some reason I did enjoy some of like the action at the end. I mean, what can I say?
You like train wrecks.
You could mute this film and it would be okay as an option film of a film being there for you to choose to turn on and off.
That's the quote they need to put on the poster. If
You can
mute
choose
this,
to turn
if
it
you
off.
mute this film, it could be okay. Ray Ora, the John Campea Show.
I'm just saying, it meant like, you know.
But here's the thing, even the action, which like I said a little bit earlier, Zack Snyder is a terrific visual storyteller. And but even the action, so I liked a lot of the visuals too, but even the action, I always say that if the action doesn't have narrative purpose, it's just visual noise, right?
Right.
And when I was watching the action, I thought, none of this makes any sense. You literally have this dreadnought with what they said has tens of thousands of soldiers and military. And they're walking a dozen guys into a barn with knives. I mean, none of that made sense. They have a fleet of fighters. And all they have is one giant cannon, which they literally use spin wheels to turn the cannons.
That was so funny.
And that's it. They got like one big gun. That's all it is. We got one big gun.
Right.
We don't have any surface to ground missiles. No. We got this one big gun that we turn with the wheel and a U-boat periscope up goggles that we need to look through. Okay, fine, whatever. But if they it's like, oh, we want to take these guys out. Well, should we just launch a dozen fighters and blow them shit? Now let's send down 12 guys with knives.
Well, they have to protect the wheat, John.
Also,
I mean, you got to protect the wheat.
You don't want to burn the wheat fields.
here's another thing.
Oh, and by the way, we'll have the
brings the
robot
wheat.
show up for 1 second and say, you can't win. But then he'll just show up later and just like the beautiful little plot device.
Also, I love the fact that they had giant tanks, yet they had underground things, but it was just covered with wood, and none of the tanks ran over that thing and fell into the
Okay,
trenches.
when they're up in the dreadnought, right? Say, bring up. They have the technology. If you can travel interstellarly, they bring up the technology. Where's everybody? Bring it up. They can see everybody in the buildings,
But they don't see the pathways.
but they don't see the paths, and they don't see the trenches, and they don't see that. But oh yeah, look, we can see we got 45 women and children in that house there, and blah blah blah. But they can and
Okay, it's
they
bad.
they have these ships that fly through outer space, right? I guess there's no California smog check on these ships because they're literally flying with these billows of blah, 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 like smoke. And
Okay, it's bad.
Like,
Okay. It is bad.
What's
It is
happening?
not good, but I'm still watching the third one. I don't know why. Maybe I hit my head too
Yeah,
many
but
times.
Ray, when you watch movies, you multitask, so you're like working and
Yeah,
stuff. So it's not like
yeah.
you're just sitting there, like
Yeah, I wonder how much of the movie you actually
But
watched.
no, I did watch
I've watched
it.
him watch
Hold on,
movies.
hold
He's
on,
doing
hold on,
three
hold on.
things at a time.
I will say this. Madam Web,
Yeah.
I spent $30 because
Perfection.
that
It's
was
perfect.
food, gas, and time.
Change nothing on it.
Rebel Moon, I spent nothing.
Well,
No,
tell me,
no.
you used AMC A-list.
No. Even with A-list.
Dude, you have
Okay,
a finite
I'm saying.
time on this planet. So the most precious thing you have is your time.
Yeah.
That's better than any money you could ever spend, and you wasted that time watching this. But you
I don't.
liked it.
I don't know.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
guys.
Well,
I
no,
watch
I
these
thought it was-
things. No notes.
I thought it was I thought it was okay for a home movie. It was like a sci-fi movie, like on
Like
Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it was to me. It's if you can get through a Sci-Fi Channel movie like Crocodile versus Great White, whatever all they have on there.
If you're a person who appreciates Crocodile versus Great White,
Maybe that's what he
whatever.
was going for. This was like an
now
experimental
listen,
thing.
I'm picking on Ray here, but
Right.
but the reality is, again, like I said in the opening, there are going to be people out there that watch this movie, and for them it clicks and it works.
No, it didn't.
And I'm not.
It didn't click. It didn't click. I was just saying it was something on TV
It was
that was
something
new.
on TV.
That was new. That had me stimulated by lasers.
Not quite clicked, more like clunked, but yeah.
Yeah, clicked, clunked, whatever. But I mean, it will. There are movies that a lot of people hate that all of us like, right? Everybody has movies that everybody hates that we personally like, and you know that's the beautiful thing about the art. I'm just saying, for me, I was like wanting to scream at the TV, going, "Why? Why?
One more point.
What are you doing?
One more point. Why is the Native American guy or whatever he's supposed to play? Why did he run into lasers with no armor on?
But he had an axe, Ray. Didn't you see he had an
Blocked
axe?
That was my biggest problem. I was
He's
like,
gonna go.
why? How? The aim of those troops, man. They didn't get nobody.
And then here's the other, like the woman with
Yeah,
the
the cool
with
one.
the hot blades,
What, the two
We call her
swords?
right?
Hot Blades
with
Houlihan.
the swords. Hot
The real
Blades
Madam
Houlihan.
Web.
The real Madam Web. All right, it's like she's set up as this insane badass.
Yeah,
Struggled fighting 3 dudes.
yeah.
I mean, that should have been a classic cannon fodder moment for the hero to show how easily she can cut through 5 or 6. It should have been 20 that would take her down. But instead, it was just like, 3 guys and she's having a hard time holding her own. Like, what?
It should have been like a cannon or something that she couldn't.
Yeah,
she could-
yeah.
but-
Something that was
But
overwhelming.
these normal soldiers, where she is like badass in that art, she was overwhelmed by 3 guys. That I had a problem with her dying that way.
Yeah, it seemed kind of lame. And then they have like all throughout the whole thing, it's like, well, why do you feel so glum? Time for me to tell you the story about how I killed the princess. And then later, Jaimon Hansu at the table. It is now time for each of us to speak our truth. Exposition time. Every single one of them now gets to do their thing of exposition and the slow-mo and then you set up the Scar Giver, the whole empire. The whole empire is scared of this girl, right? Whole empire. She beat the dude in the first movie. She loses to the dude and needed her boyfriend to come in at the end and stab the guy through the neck because she got beat. So you had our sword wielder with an underwhelming thing. They didn't let Jaimon do anything except kick some guys in the chest and stand with his gun going.
He had the bridge fight.
Like
Native
Sophia
American
Botella,
guy.
yeah. Sophia Botella loses her fight in it. Axe Dude is just Axe Dude. And I mean, I don't. And then finally they needed a plot device where, okay, now we're getting overwhelmed. Don't worry, the robot's going to show up.
You know, the only guy who had a cool death was, spoilers. For,
I don't care about giving
Okay.
spoilers in this one.
It's the guy that made it on the ship with Ed Screen. That guy had a cool death because he got pushed off the ship.
Oh
and he
yeah,
flew
that
all the
was
way down.
that was
That was
cool.
an honorable death. right
That was
there.
cool, and I'm going to give it some credit. That was a good plot thing because you're setting up the badassness of the villain as well,
Right.
taking out a hero, fairly easily. That was pretty good, not bad there.
The farmers just getting. They gave more honorable
Oh,
deaths
okay.
to the farmers, the normal farmers.
See, okay, the farmer. Thank you, the farmers. Okay, we've got you peaceful farmers. By the way, this whole planet, Vlad, really, this whole planet. There's one village on the planet. Okay, whatever. But dear villagers who have led this peaceful life, right?
There's no other weed on the planet?
The military, the space police are coming in 5 days. We're going to train you how to fight in 5 days. No.
Haven't you
We're
guys
gonna-
ever seen Three Amigos?
We're going to spend the first 3 days
Sort of like the
gathering up
wind.
the wheat. That's going to leave us 2 days to train you how to fight a trained military technological machine on its way here.
Titus trained.
Titus trained. Get the label. Rob, I think you undersold this movie yesterday or on Monday. I think you undersold just how bad this movie was to me. Okay, but let me really challenge you. Let me challenge you.
Oh no.
You need to watch them back to back.
What would you say? And I'll give mine too in a minute.
Oh no.
What would you say? Because everybody already knows you hated the movie. What would you say are maybe some of the redeeming qualities of the movie? Well, I like to look at both sides.
No.
Okay, you know what? And you can watch this on the John Campea channel. The design team.
Beautiful design.
I think the
Yeah.
design team and all of the work that went into creating the different worlds, the different races, the different factions, the ships. I mean, it has a lot of Warhammer 40K in it. It has a lot of really cool ideas, all the design work. So for me, like Ray said, Look, if you were to turn the volume of this movie off and play it with techno music, like some great EDM tracks, like I don't know, a Testio record from like 2006, or play it, Daft Punk, Around the World, play that from 20 years ago, along with this music, or the score from Tron Legacy. That would be cool, because you wouldn't have to pay attention to the absolutely atrocious, ridiculous story, because you could just bask in the visuals
and dialogue.
And the dialogue, you would never, and you know what? Whatever you're making up in your mind as you walked by a screen as Daft Punk was blazing out of the speakers would be better than what's actually coming out of the mouths of these characters. And that's why, John, I'll tell you something. I used to love, in the wake of Star Wars, there were a lot of cheesy Star Wars knockoffs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the very best, and I've been defending this movie for my entire life, is the Italian, directed by, it says Louis Coates, but Luigi Cozzi, Star Crash, starring the lovely Caroline Munro. It's got David Hasselhoff in it, Joe Spinell as Count Zarth Arn, Christopher Plummer as the Emperor of the Universe. It is not a great movie, but it has laser swords and robots and a great score by John Barry. It is infinitely better than this movie. I love Star Crash. I have a Stella Star action figure. And I'm watching this film and I'm thinking to myself, they have everything that they didn't have when they made Star Crash. But Star Crash had conviction, it had wit, it had verve and love. This film makes me want to drown myself in a toilet.
It made me actually want to go and watch Ice Pirates.
Another
Ice Pirates is really good, though.
More wit and verve too. They've got a dancing xenomorph in that. And like you, I just want to point out before all the Snyder Bros roast me on Twitter, which they love to do, I'm a Zack Snyder fan. I own Sucker Punch hot toy figures, John. I own Sucker Punch on disc. I have every one of his movies on disc up till these two. And they're on Netflix, so I probably will never have discs to buy anyway, which is great. But he won me over with Dawn of the Dead. I enjoyed Watchmen, not as much as I hoped, but Watchmen is still a valiant effort. There was a lot of love there. I love Man of Steel, as you do. I think Zack Snyder has done some really impressive things. This is not one of them.
Don't you?
And
This is his The Terminal.
Didn't you hate the end too? Oh, come on.
No, I don't.
Don't you hate the end too, where the fighters came in? I was like, where was that? Like,
Yeah,
oh,
why
it's-
didn't you show up like a
And
half
they-
hour ago?
And they
with
told that
Rebel
pilot that
stuff?
was a completely different race or like a creature.
Right.
And I was like, who's that guy?
I think he appeared
He
in
was
the
in the
first
first
film.
one? Okay.
think
I
he
don't
complimented in the first one.
understand how you sit in an edit bay cutting this movie together for months on end and go, oh yeah, that's great. Let's do that.
Yeah, this works. This is money.
I mean, somebody needs to do a riff.
The editor
tracks.
was like,
Take
really?
this movie and do riff tracks and redub the whole movie with different actors and write a whole new script, but keep the movie the same way. Or better yet, take the movie and do a recut of it and then bring actors in and make it into a movie that's palatable. Because I am perplexed that both of these movies exist the way they do. How did these get made like this with this dialogue? How did Zack Snyder go, yeah, this is what we want? I love this.
anyway, guys.
Wait, you didn't do your
Oh,
redeeming
that's right.
Just
My
one,
redeeming
at least
thing.
one.
No, I'll give you a couple. Okay. Much like the Star Wars prequels, which I loathe, but I've always said about the Star Wars prequels, if you just take the 3 Star Wars prequels and sketch out the rough storyline over 3 pages,
Yeah.
I think you've got a really neat story there. I think the basic mythology of what this universe is, like the whole idea that there was this noble royal family of the universe that were usurped, and you had somebody that's on the run from them now, and the thing about the princess, like, I think all of that is a really neat starting point for telling hopefully a potentially really good story there. So I think the basic underlying mythology and background of the universe that Zack Snyder created here is very interesting. Again, I'll go with the visual stylings. I think the visual stylings of the film are very good, nice to look at. I think you have a really good visual palette for the movie itself. I like the basic idea of our main protagonist having been like a ward of the ultimate behind the scenes antagonist. I think that's an interesting idea. We've seen it done before, but it can be done very effectively. I like that. I liked the nice nature of the farmers.
Yeah.
I mean, especially
The credits.
By the way, the main farmer dude, the credits all seem to be spelt correctly, but the main farmer dude, the white beard guy.
Yeah.
I know it wasn't him, but tell me at least a dozen times whenever he came on screen, I thought he looks like the main maester on the small council from Game of Thrones, who was also the main bad guy in Indiana Jones 3 and was also the AT-AT commander in Empire Strikes Back. Every time he came on screen, I thought that was him. It wasn't him.
The guy with the white
the
belt.
white beard.
I refer to him as Herschel from Walking Dead.
That's right, from Rocky. Yeah, he's kind of getting like Herschel.
Sean, you know, I also want to say this. I was really excited for these movies. I wanted them to be great.
I remember you would bubble every time we would talk these movies. They hadn't come out yet. You were excited.
I was really excited to see these movies. I was excited to see what Zack Snyder was going to do with this. I mean, there were his Star Wars pitch that didn't get picked up or whatever. I was really, really, really excited for these movies. And to see what I got, I don't think I've been let down by a movie like this. Ooh. I can't remember the last time I was let down so much by films.
Anyway, guys, with that as a final note,
and I'm sad.
What did you guys think about Rebel Moon 2, The Scar Giver? Now, again, we're not just giving lip service. Movies are beautifully subjective things. They all hit us in different ways. And maybe you enjoyed the film, and I'm glad that if you did. We clearly, other than Ray, most of us here did not.
Hey.
This one
And
hit
that's
you in the
fine.
balls.
No, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. We clearly didn't like it. But what did you guys think about it? Did you get more out of it than we did? Did you hate it more than we did? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're now going to get on to the most important part of our show, which is taking your comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take another quick moment here and thank another sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show, our friends at Liquid IV. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Liquid IV. You know, summer is just around the corner, and Anna and I have some of our favorite activities coming up, from hiking, swimming, going camping. But in order to do all that, you gotta stay hydrated, because you need hydration that keeps up with every moment. Just a single stick of Liquid IV makes ordinary hydration extraordinary. And for me, preparing a glass is the easiest thing in the world. Simply open up a packet, pour it into your glass of water, and enjoy. And guys, there's a reason that Liquid IV is the #1 powdered hydration brand in America. It has 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink. Just tear, pour, and live more. Just 1 stick plus 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. With 8 vitamins and nutrients, non-GMO and free from gluten, dairy, and soy. There's no artificial colors or sweeteners, and it's got 4 delicious sugar-free flavors: white peach, green grape, raspberry melon, and lemon lime. So turn your ordinary water into extraordinary hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use the code CAMPEA at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code CAMPEA at liquidiv.com. And thank you to our friends at Liquid IV for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, with that down, let's get over to your questions here, shall we? Jonathan, what are we starting off with?
First off, we got Christopher Benson, who says, with Alien Day being this Friday, the 26th, could we get our first full trailer for Alien Romulus that day? God, I hope so.
What is the release date for Alien?
Sorry.
That'll depend on what the release date for Alien Romulus is.
It's August sometime.
It's August sometime?
Yeah.
Then it very well could be. I mean, August isn't too terribly far away.
Yeah, 3 months.
I'll tell you what. They showed us some Alien Romulus at CinemaCon, and
August 16th.
August 16th. So we're April, May, June, July. It's only 4 months away. So yeah, they could very well be dropping the first trailer that day. It would be a good time. Listen,
Showed in
I
the
have
theater.
not been excited about Alien Romulus. What I saw at CinemaCon made me excited. And so that very well, I think you're absolutely right. I think that'll be the day they drop the first trailer. All right, what's next?
Casinema says, if Multiverse of Madness were someone's first MCU film, why would they be confused by Wanda being a villain when they've never met Wanda before?
Because there would be 1,000 other things in that movie that would leave them completely confused. If you'd never even seen one, I mean, that's the thing. This was a movie. It was the first time really that I felt you absolutely needed homework. before you could watch that movie. The whole thing about like, wait, why is he talking to this character that I've never seen before? Stuff like that. Yeah, it would be doubling confusing. Having not seen WandaVision wouldn't take away the confusion, would just double down on the confusion. It was, I think, their first mistake. And by the way, I don't think Multiverse of Madness is a bad movie. I enjoyed it. I don't think it was great, but I enjoyed Multiverse of Madness. I think it had a lot of things going for it, but the fact that it was kind of a big warning signal that we were getting that place in the MCU now where it's not going to be new fan friendly. The MCU is now becoming a place where you have to have already been on the MCU before really being able to appreciate the MCU for it. And I hope they find a way to correct that. So,
Yeah. And also to the writer, we're not saying that that's your first MCU film, but had you seen MCU movies, but not seen WandaVision, and then all of a sudden she's a bad person. So
yeah, all of a sudden, like if you hadn't watched that Disney Plus show, that was going to have you in a place of pretty big confusion. We had people writing into the show going, wait a minute, I don't get it. What's going on with Wanda? Because they haven't seen the thing. So yeah, it's just too bad. All right, what's next?
Sam Edwards says, Isaac Martinez says, I saw the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare and it was a good movie. Even if the movie doesn't make the big bucks, Guy Ritchie still has money.
How it's irrelevant how much money the movie makes. The directors don't get paid the box office.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, a director's deal will have points in the movie, but
For Nolan.
like Christopher Nolan, whatever. But most of the time, directors get a fee for making a movie, and that fee is not changed by how much or how little the movie makes. So that's what we were talking about yesterday about the three actors from the Blair Witch Project who are demanding retroactive residuals from it. It's like, listen, if the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare made $0 at the box office, Guy Ritchie doesn't give his money back. He got paid his fee. Now, whether or not he has points attached to it or not is, I mean, like, I guess sometimes that happens. A lot of times it doesn't, but he'll be fine. Guy Ritchie will be just fine. All right, what's next?
All right, we got Sam Edwards, who says, will Logan recognize Wade from X-Men Origins?
It all depends on what timeline they say this guy is from.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'll bet you $1 million that there's a great joke about that in this movie. There has to be.
I already like the joke in the trailer. Like, listen, lady, I'm not interested. Remember, in X-Men Origins, he never saw Wade in that costume. He never saw Wade with his deformation.
Yeah.
So even if they say this is the same Wolverine, he may not recognize him anyway. All right, what's next?
All right. Now, J Loco, new show recommendation for everybody: Baby Reindeer on Netflix. For me, show is so far is topping Barry and Beef and The Bear. Wow, only 7 episodes, each 30 to 40 minutes, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Again, right now it is the number 3 streaming original show, only behind that prison thing and Fallout at number 1. I mean, it's all over Netflix right now. So I'm hearing good things. I never heard about it until 24 hours ago.
Right.
And I've been hearing good things in the last 24 hours, and it's really big on the ratings. I might have to check it out. All right, what's next?
The Santiago says, Tenet is my favorite film of the last decade.
Wow.
Also loved JDW in Beckett on Netflix. Underrated film. Love your show. I have been a huge fan for years.
You know, a lot of people crapped on Tenet when it came out, and I did not hate the film. Like, I liked it, but
it's beautifully made.
It's not one of my top favorite Christopher Nolan films. I mean, it was just, I think Christopher Nolan, in Oppenheimer, he really showed he has learned to reel something in, because one knock against Christopher Nolan sometimes, and you saw this as his movie started to progress, was he was telling more and more stories that he understood what he was doing, but he was not taking the extra steps to make sure it was being communicated effectively to his audience. And I think Tenet was the real peak of that he knew what was going on. He knew what he was trying to say, but he wasn't taking the time to really make sure, because the main job of the storyteller is to tell the story in such a way that the audience is coming along with you. I think he learned his lessons from Tenet, and you really saw that in Oppenheimer. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, Tenet's my favorite movie from the next decade.
Mm.
10 years from now.
Yeah.
So I
better be careful you don't watch it in reverse.
I didn't understand it until the next decade.
Yeah.
And now that I've been there and seen it and in context, I really understand what he was getting at. So I think, you know, by 2034, most people can.
Most
look back
people will
and
get
go,
it. Oh,
yeah,
and by
they'll
the way, and
understand.
watch it with subtitles.
And what? Right.
That's the other thing he's fixed.
That's what Rob learned 10 years from now.
10 years from now. But that's
true.
the other thing he fixed. This, like, you go to Oppenheimer, always understood the dialogue.
Yeah.
And he suffered with that in a couple of his movies. And I don't care if he says why he intentionally did that. That doesn't excuse it. Because I didn't really even fully get Tenet until I got to go back and watch it with subtitles.
It's really, I mean, it's a difficult, and also there are things about Tenet, like you're asking people to believe that when they're moving backwards, they're still aware of how they're supposed to fight
Right.
forwards. And I don't think that worked. I mean, I understand it was cool visually, but I could never wrap my head around the fact that how do you're physically traveling, just because you're traveling back through time, you're actually repeating everything, but in reverse. I didn't buy it. I think the problem with that movie is, but it's beautifully made. I really like the story, actually.
Yeah, I still like the film.
Once I saw it, I mean, it was really that moment in 2034, I was like, oh. So once I got that realization, I felt better about it.
Michael J. Fox never had to move backwards.
Yeah.
No, he didn't. No,
All right.
he didn't.
What's next?
Matan says, I find it weird that with 4K and HDR and the push for to diversify shows and movies got less colorful, which is sad. Everybody wants to be gray, flat, minimal, like an Apple store.
You know, I've seen several YouTube videos about this, and it's true. There's a real trend to have these really, they'll say the
muted?
word subdued. I call dull.
Or muted.
Like dull.
Yeah.
And you know what? Even one of your favorite shows was pretty guilty of this. The Ozark was kind of like one of the poster children. It was like this really dull cinematography of as far as the color palette goes.
And this is happening in post-production too.
Yes.
They're not using, like, it's called nits
Yeah.
when you're looking at an HD TV. You know, they're not using the full, they're not using as much color and brightness as they have available to them. And it drives people crazy because
I think
gonna
they've learned to, like, because they think they're conveying drama by
Right.
doing that.
Well, and sometimes it does. Like sometimes there will be scenes that muting things and downgrading like the lighting and the color, it creates a mood and an atmosphere. The problem is when your whole show or your whole movie is shot that way.
or your whole channel.
Or your
everybody's
whole
going for
channel.
that same look
Yeah.
over every show, whether it's a comedy or a drama. It drives you berserk.
So when something brighter comes along, like the bear is shot more vibrantly. I really notice and I really enjoy that. All right, what's next?
All right, we got Raymond Verado, who says, love Shogun, but that's where the story ends and no season 2. Will the producers do another series based on James Clavell's novels like Taipan?
Well, Taipan is kind of a sequel to Shogun, actually.
How many years in the future
But,
is that?
Like 200 or
Yeah,
something
okay.
like
Yeah.
that? Okay. Yeah, no, like we told everybody earlier, like Shogun tells the story of the book. I mean, it's done. There is no Shogun 2. But if you watched Shogun and even saw the last episode, you can do another season. Because after
Sure.
all, Blackthorn's still there. We're just at the beginning of Toranaga's rise. You can easily tell. I mean, Shogun tells the story. And there is no book to base it on, but you get some gifted screenwriters in there. You can carry that on.
and there's real
I don't think
history
they
to
will,
draw
but I
from.
hope they do.
Yeah.
And that's a good point. There's real history there they can draw from. So I want to see what happens when they try to open that church next to the brothel. That's what I want to see. There's a sitcom right
Well, what's
there.
great is you can sin and then go across the street and pray for forgiveness.
Just have the wacky neighbors. I mean, I love that. All right, what's next?
Christopher says, I'm still waiting for the director's cut of the Rebel Moon films, aka the real versions, to come out to watch. They can't be worse than Netflix.
Sure
cut.
they can.
First off, Netflix didn't cut it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Again, Netflix had the 3-hour and 40-minute Irishman. They did not give, I don't care what they tell you, they did not give Zack Snyder say, well, it can't be longer than 2 hours and 30 minutes. It's Netflix. People are watching at home. This whole director's cut is don't believe a single fucking word. All right. This whole director's cut is them trying to artificially recreate the release the Snyder cut phenom online trend. That's all it is. Everything is bullshit. It's going to be just as bad. It's going to be, and if it actually ends up being better, then fuck them for not just putting the good version out as the movie. Like it's just stupid. Anyway. All right. What's next?
Patrick Hamilton says, Just noticed a series on Apple called Sugar, starring. Yeah, I want to see that.
Yeah, me too.
Starring Colin Farrell. It is a great show. Have you seen or heard about this? I was unaware Colin Farrell had another series besides The Penguin. It's like a modern film noir.
I didn't know it had come
With
out.
a twist.
Yeah, it kind of feels a little bit like LA Confidential when you watch the marketing of it.
Or even Chinatown a little bit.
Actually, to me, it felt like a baby between LA Confidential and, oddly enough, I don't know why for me, True Detective. Like it seemed like a kind of a mixture of that.
A little bit.
Colin Farrell is a remarkable actor. And I didn't know it had dropped yet, but I knew it was coming. So I have not seen it yet, but I'm definitely interested and I want to watch it. All right, what's next?
Joe Adonis says, but John, Rebel Moon has light katanas.
The one thing that I was actually grateful for when I saw the first Rebel Moon was that the marketing made it look like he was just stealing lightsabers, but they're not. They're literally heated up blades.
Right.
And that to me made more sense and it worked better for me. And I liked the swords. I did. I thought they kind of worked.
But they were the fact that they were trying to sell this to Star Wars, as a Star Wars,
Star
film,
Wars
they
thing,
were
yeah.
originally lightsabers.
Yeah.
The trailers did make them look like lightsabers. They totally did. But in the movies, they made more sense to me. All right, what's next?
A Marcella says, I've been out of the loop. Just found out Chris Gore had a stroke a week or two ago.
Yeah.
At one of the cons.
I did not know this.
He did.
Okay, I know you had him on the show in the past. Send best wishes.
Well, he's also in my documentary, and
yeah,
I'm
I
in
saw
his.
him.
Chris had a stroke while he was in Vegas.
Oh, no.
I did not
CinemaCon.
know
Yeah,
this.
we saw him there.
And he hasn't been, he was not feeling well, and then he had a stroke, and he's in rehabilitation because he couldn't speak.
Whoa.
Well, I mean, okay, so I know a lot of times people have had strokes. They would then come out of it with, like, didn't JR have that?
Yeah, he had a stroke.
He had a stroke, and then but gradually over time,
Yeah, you
he
come
was.
out of it.
Are they saying Chris is
Yeah,
going to
he's
be able
going to
to
come out of it, apparently.
I did not hear about
I had
that.
just run into him at the Burbank 16.
Yeah, you were just telling me. Yeah, you dropped me a text message saying,
Yeah,
"Hey, just ran
he
into
was
Chris."
Going to
whatever.
see The Omen. So that was only like a week before CinemaCon.
Yeah,
I had no
saw him
idea.
at CinemaCon too.
I didn't know he was at CinemaCon.
Yeah, he was at CinemaCon.
I didn't see him at all. Well, there's
Yeah.
So many
thousands of
people.
people there.
But-
Anyway.
But he had it in Vegas then at CinemaCon.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, that's
Oh.
all right. What's next?
Okay. Okay, sorry, I gotta scroll down. I forgot to scroll because we got Richard Lai says Snyder's reliance on director's cut and extended version as excuses to save his theatrical cut makes me thankful to WB for pulling the plug ASAP.
Look, I'm not going to get into that so much because, like, I am one of the people who personally liked the stuff he created at DC. Like, I liked
Yeah.
every movie he made at DC, especially Man of Steel. But I always said, despite the fact that I personally like it and I wish more people did, it clearly wasn't working. It was not winning over the majority of the audience. It was not winning over the majority of the critics. It was not winning over, the movies were not living up to their potential at the box office. It just wasn't working. I personally think, and I remember I said this as somebody who fucking worships Man of Steel. I always think the main mistake that Warner Brothers made was after Batman versus Superman, a number of the executives at Warner Brothers really wanted to pull Zack Snyder off of Justice League and kind of go back to the drawing board. And at the last minute, they decided that they were just going to leave him in there and move forward because they wanted that movie to come out. They wanted that Justice League movie to come out. And it was so close to when they were going to start shooting that if they had pulled the director, they were going to have to delay the movie, and they didn't want to delay the movie. And of course, this is back when what's his name was CEO of Warner Brothers. Not Hamada. Sujihara. That's right. Kevin Sujihara. Who infamously, even then when they did pull Zack Snyder out of directing that and they put in Joss Whedon had asked, I need about 6 more months to properly make this. And Sujihara said no, because his bonus was specifically attached to that movie coming out prior to the end of the calendar year. I mean, so he screwed everybody up. He screwed up Snyder. He screwed up everything. I personally think I would be curious to know what history of the DCU would look like now if the executives who wanted to pull Zack Snyder after Batman versus Superman, but before Justice League, how things may have evolved differently. But I think that was ultimately their main mistake, was they didn't pull the trigger on that. And again, I say that as somebody who loved Man of Steel, but as somebody who loved it, I could clearly see it wasn't working for most people. So yeah, I mean, WB gets a lot of criticism for interfering. They should have interfered more by pulling him out. I just think that would have been better for him. I think it would have been better for the DCEU. And now obviously we all get to play the game of hindsight, because hindsight is 2020. But there, what are you gonna do? All right, what's next?
We got CPU who says, after being in the hospital for 3 months, I'm glad you're out. What movies should I watch? And thanks for being a light in dark times. Check out Madam Web.
Wow.
That is
What a
not
joke,
nice.
man.
Madam Web, Rebel Moons, Part 1 and 2. By the way, it tipped in like $50.
Yes, and thank you for
Thank
that.
you so much
He
for
comes
supporting
with- He
them.
comes to us with being very sincere, telling us.
I
what
was
you're telling
sincere.
him to
You
watch
try to
Madam
put him
Web.
right back in the hospital.
Oh boy.
No, he's got good stuff to watch. He's got Shogun, to watch on TV.
Well, if he's asking specifically about movies. I mean, Dune
Part 2.
Dune
Part
Part
2.
2, man. You've got Dune Part 2 there to go watch. You want to have some fun? Godzilla X Kong is still in theaters. By the way, 5 weeks in theaters, still at number 3.
Yeah.
I believe still at number 3 at the box office, closing in on $500 million at the box office. Is going to cross that $500 million mark.
Sydney Sweeney. That rom-com with Glenn.
Yeah, with Glenn Powell, it's Anyone But You.
Anyone but you.
Is a fun little one to go watch.
But it
Yeah,
already-
there have been a number of really good
Yeah.
things the last couple of months that you get to get caught up
Late
on.
Night with the Devil, they pulled it. So
Late Night with the Devil's
Oh, yeah,
good.
that's
That's on
done now.
Shudder
They
now,
pulled
but
it,
that was
though.
really good.
So yeah, a bunch of things you get to go watch right now. Glad you're out of the hospital now with whatever was ailing you, and go get yourself caught up. You got some good stuff
And
to watch,
do
man.
not watch Madam Web.
And yeah,
Don't do that.
don't waste your time with Madam Web, nor do you waste your time with Rebel Moon. All right, and thank you for supporting us on that level, man. We're glad that you're here. All right, what's next?
we got Newsaloid with a $20 super chat.
Thank you,
Euro super
Newsaloid.
chat. Hey guys, just wanted to thank you for being a part of my daily life. Watching you since around 2015 and almost 4 years ago in a super chat, I told you about the birth of my daughter. Now she's a Ninja Turtles Sonic fan.
Yeah.
That would make
Nicely
Ray
done.
happy.
Yeah. You taught her well.
You know, it's always fun. I've had a few people write to me over the years, like I've written in and said, told us about the birth of their daughter, or their son, or something like that, and then like years later say, remember years ago I told you about the birth of my daughter's son? Well, they are now. They're like 6 years old. It's always amazing and crazy and fun to hear, and that's great hearing that. According to Ray, you are raising your kid right.
Well,
Being Turtles and Sonic
Good
Man.
times.
Maybe Ray can be your babysitter. I mean, Ray's always looking for side hustles. You can be Ray or
a
a
hint?
babysitting
is that a
service.
hint?
Drop him off. We won't screw him up. I mean, that's Ray. That's his business love. Anyway, thanks for sharing that, man. That's awesome. All right, what's next?
All right. Miko says, so I just read an article online about Taika Waititi, how he has lost his charm. To me, I kind of agree. He lost me after Thor: Love and Thunder. What do you think? Greetings from the Philippines. We're burning here.
I always
yeah.
heard the one thing whenever I think about going to visit the Philippines, everybody says it's just really hot.
I heard it's been
really
terrible
hot.
lately.
Here's the thing. So Taika Waititi spends 15 years building up this incredible reputation of great charm, project after project after project. And then one movie comes out that we don't like, and we say he lost me? I don't understand that mentality. I really, really don't. It's like watching Michael Jordan play for a bunch of years, and then you go watch a game and he scores 10 points and goes 3 for 12 and say, oh, well, Michael Jordan lost me because he didn't play that. This one game, he didn't play that well. I don't buy into that whatsoever.
Someone wrote an article too. They wasted time writing an article about this.
Yeah. And where was that article? I guarantee it wasn't Variety. But I mean, everything from Will to People, What We Do in the Shadows, Jojo Rabbit,
Can you say at least recently?
I didn't
Thor-
see next goal.
Thor:
wins,
Love
though.
and Thunder,
Oh, okay.
his work on Mandalorian.
Right.
I mean, not Thor: Love and Thunder, but Thor: Ragnarok, his work on Mandalorian. Like, he's just proven over and over and over and over. Won an Academy Award, by the way,
Right.
just a couple of years ago, for the greatness that is Jojo Rabbit. Okay, then he did Thor: Love and Thunder. And I agree. He went too silly on that. I agree. But one thing,
Maybe
that's like me going, Spielberg's a hack. Yeah, he was good, but then I saw The Terminal.
And I mean,
Spielberg doesn't know what he's doing. Like,
Next Goal Wins didn't get received well, but
No,
it didn't get the hate that the Love and Thunder did. So I don't see how that even qualifies.
and by the way, I didn't like Next Goal Wins.
So maybe he's in a slump.
I'm gonna buy that 11 Thunder
it's-
hot toy of Thor though. It's banger.
And by the way, the Next Goal Wins was a super shoestring, low budget,
it was
little
just-
passion thing.
Yeah.
he
yeah, that's
did.
what it was.
You know, that was just a little thing that he did. The notion that he's lost, I think, is utterly ridiculous. I really do. After like one bad big movie, really, I just don't see the logic between that line of thinking. He's still the guy who won the Academy Award. He's still the guy who's given us some of this great stuff. I just don't see it. Anyway, that's just me. All right, what's next?
Okay, on to the member questions now. Just Breed says, hello, everyone. I've been living in Japan for over 3 years now. I
Wow.
will be moving back to the U.S. this week. Watching your show would always make me feel like I was back home for a little bit.
Yeah.
Just want to say thank you for everything you guys do.
Wow.
I still remember back in the movie blog days when I would get comments from people saying, I live in Spain or I live in Germany, whatever. I've never lost that sense of wonder when somebody writes in and says, I'm watching from Japan, or I'm watching from the UK, or I'm watching from Scotland. It's just really weird to me. I'm sitting here in this stupid little room in my computer at my desk, and there are literally people from all over the world watching, and I still find that incredible.
I'm dying to know what the first thing he wants to eat.
I knew
coming back.
Oh, when he comes back,
Even if I was traveling to a different country, that's the very first thing I would want to know from everybody. What's the first thing you're going to eat when you get there? So hopefully he'll write in and tell me.
you know, one of these days, if I have like a ton of money, like it's stupid the amount of money I have, I am going to produce a Ray Aura travel food show. Kind of like Somebody Feed Phil or the Anthony Bourdain show, but it'll be
Dude,
Ray
it'd be a
Aura.
huge hit.
Just, I guarantee you it would be a big hit.
But why do we have to
Ray
have that?
Aura
Let's get
traveling
a-
around
let's
eating.
just get, some producers to give us the money.
Yeah, just somebody give us money, man,
Yeah,
to
we
do
gotta
it.
sell that shit.
Guaranteed hit. All right, what's next?
The Mummy. Oh, sorry. MW says The Mummy from '99 re-releases this Friday, along with Alien. Got me thinking, whatever happened to director Steven Sommers? Retired, walked away. They want to take that
Steven
one?
Sommers kind of shot himself in the foot.
Why did he say something? Or?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
he said some pretty stupid things, like not cancelable things, just stupid. Like he made that G.I. Joe movie, and then he literally, like, there are times that, you know, some people said some pretty racist shit about Rian Johnson's Star Wars movie. Not everybody, but there were some people. And then when Rian Johnson would respond directly and specifically to those people saying racist shit, then people go, Rian Johnson saying any fans who don't like his movie are racist. That is not what happened at all. And you just kind of proved his point. But, or when a director will directly address something specific, people say, that director's attacking the fans. No, he's not. He's directly countering what some stupid idiot said. At any rate, but Steven Sommers really did kind of attack the fans. Like, and I think it was over the G.I. Joe movie that he made.
Oh, man.
It's like people didn't get, I remember doing an article about it at the movie blog at the time saying, I kind of like the movies this guy's made, but this is really dumb what he's saying. And I don't think he's done anything else. Hold on a second.
I was just looking him up.
Summers IMDb. I don't know what he's done at all in the last number of years. If I go to his director credits,
Odd Thomas.
where is his okay?
Wow, that
so
was the last thing he did was Odd Thomas in
in
2013.
2013. Then so G.I. Joe: The Rise of Cobra, in 2009. He did The Ride at Universal for Revenge of the Mummy.
Van Helsing.
He did Van Helsing. You know what? A movie that everybody knows is terrible, but I will defend it. Not to say it's not terrible, it is. But that's one of those movies where you want people to take a big swing at something. And he took a big swing with Van Helsing. He did. And it didn't work out, but I appreciate what he was trying to do with that movie. Then The Mummy Returns. He did Deep Rising. He did the 1994 Jungle Book version, which I didn't think was all that bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think what happened with G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra kind of killed him. I think that kind of killed him.
Kind of turned into U-Bowl there.
I'd be interested to see him. Now, come on.
Come on, don't bring him into
That's not a fair comparison.
boy.
By the way, the proper pronunciations of his name is Uva Bowl. Uva Bowl.
Sorry, he was kind of turned into Uva Bowl.
Uva Bowl. By the way, I know I've told this the story before, but I remember when I was still living in Canada and I was doing the movie blog, I got invited by Uva Bowl to go to a special advanced screening of his In the Name of the King movie that he did with Jason Statham. And it was before the movie came out. So I drove out to Toronto because I was living in Hamilton, and I got to sit down with him for about 45 minutes before the screening started. And whatever you want to say about Uwe Boll, all of it justified, I'm sure. This dude's hilarious. Uwe Boll, I'm going to tell you what, maybe the worst director of the modern age. Maybe. But I loved every minute I had of sitting down and just shooting the shit with Uwe Boll. He was really funny.
He was like a doctor.
Yes,
in real life.
He's got a doctorate. And then during the screening, during the Q&A, because Mike Marsden from like Kill Bill and all that kind of stuff, and I almost said Dead Poets Society, not Dead Poets Society.
Michael Madsen.
Michael, what did I say?
Marsden.
Did I say Marsden?
Yeah.
Michael Marsden. I'm sorry. I was thinking of James Marsden. He was also, of course, in the Quentin Tarantino Reservoir Dogs and stuff like that.
Kill Bill.
Stuck in the middle with
Stuck
you.
in the middle with you, right? So he's in this movie, this Uwe Boll movie too. And so Uwe Boll's doing the Q&A and like, what were some of the more challenging things? One of the audience member instantly, Michael Marsden. Because every day he'd come to set drunk. Every day, Michael, we are doing scenes with swords today. Please do not come drunk. And he come drunk. And he just went on this 15-minute spiel about how every single day Michael would show up on set completely smashed and hammered. It's like, well, he was doing an Uwe Boll movie. I mean, but anyway. So yeah, say what you want about Uwe Boll. I would hang out with him again in a second. I thought he was really fun to hang out with. All right, what's next?
Oh, wrong one. Alan says, Happy Wednesday Campy crew. They have Deadpool Wolverine Funko Pops for pre-sale. Of course they do. I am so excited to add these to my set.
Yeah, I'm probably going to pick up a couple of those. By the way, did you see the McDonald's toys?
Deadpool?
No, for Captain America 4.
Hey, Deadpool?
No, what? No.
No.
Let me see if I can find an image.
The things came out. They I think it was one of the European countries, McDonald's, let their ads slip out early.
Oops.
Red Hulk.
Oh,
No.
I told you.
Wow. Okay.
Red Hulk. Now, listen, this is clearly going to be in the trailers before the movie comes out. So I really don't think it's that big of a deal. It's not going to be something I think they're going to try to
There you
hide
go.
until the movie comes out. Do you got there? Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, baby.
Snap.
Got
it.
Got your letter Red Hulk in there.
We're going to need
Who's
a
Rude?
century to defeat that.
Wait, so there's a different Falcon?
Yeah, the guy who's kind of his military buddy in Falcon and the Winter Soldier is the new Falcon.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the new Falcon. So they talked about that at CinemaCon.
I don't know who Cascavel or Ruth are, but all right.
Wow.
But you got a little Red Hulk.
Yeah, little.
Adorable Red Hulk. All right. What's next?
All right.
What the hell are we doing?
Todd
I don't
Knapper
know.
says, just finished Fallout. Never played the game, but I thoroughly enjoyed the season. That and Walton Goggins continues to climb up my list of most favorite actors. As a fan of Justified and SOA, I'm happy to see him continue and find success. I would real quick be interested now if people hadn't played the game, but they're gamers of some sort, and then they watch this series.
Yep.
What they would say now playing like Fallout 4.
I'm
I
thinking,
wanted to play it.
I've been thinking about going back to play the game. I've never played Fallout. I listen. If you like Walton Goggins, his performance in Sons of Anarchy is next level. Walton plays, I don't think he's transgender. I just think he's a cross-dresser and gay and a character like that. It is like nothing you've ever thought you'd see him play before. And he is remarkable in it. Like, to the point that you're moved to tears almost by the end of the series.
He's a recurring character on Justified too.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was so good in Justified.
Oh, the guy's phenomenal. You know what? They even gave him his own sitcom.
I loved him on Vice Principals.
What was it called? The Unicorn?
Oh yeah.
Or something like that, where it's like he's this great, wonderful guy who's a widower. His wife died and it's like a year after the death of and now all of his friends and his own kids are trying to tell him it's time for you to start dating again. And it's about him trying to get back into dating. It wasn't bad. Nobody watched it. And you don't really think of Walton Goggins in a sitcom, but it kind of worked for me. All right, we've got time for 2 more. What's next?
Okay. Yanamor says, on Monday I saw the re-release of Spider-Man 2. I tried, it was sold out, with Toby in theaters, and it was pretty packed. Truly forgot how exceptional this film was. I read today that it made about $805,000. So no. It made over 11 million over the weekend. So do you think
did it?
Yeah, it could increase the chances of Spider-Man 4 with Toby?
No, it doesn't increase.
I'm going to fact check myself, but I'm pretty sure I read a headline that said it made over 11 million.
It does not increase the chances of Spider-Man 4 with Toby. I'm going through everything. I don't see Ghostbusters, Monkey Man First Order, Shrek 2 re-release, Sasquatch, Earth of the King, Barman. I'm not seeing anything.
Well,
that's that's the dailies. That's the dailies. Give me 1 second. That's the dailies I got. For the weekend, Spider-Man 2.
Maybe not. I could have swore I saw that it made 11 million, but maybe that's like its total re-release from all times.
Well, the one I just saw the daily on it was 800,000. So I'm not quite sure. I'm not seeing it listed anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, but no, I don't think it does anything about the chances of them doing another one. No. All right. It just means people love that older one, but we already knew people loved those ones. All right. Next one. What's next?
This is interesting. Charles Edmond says, this is totally random, but have any of you ever seen, Master and Commander? It's great.
Speak about it all the time.
Russell Crowe or White Heat? Yes, with James Cagney. I recently watched them both for the first time and thought they were both really good. I love really James Cagney, man.
Top of the world, ma.
Yeah.
But also Master and Commander
is great film.
There are some people who think that's an even better Russell Crowe movie than Gladiator. I don't agree.
It's also the Star Trek movie that's been made that isn't a Star Trek movie.
It is very much kind of like, but also not only is Russell Crowe, but Paul Bettany.
Great.
Who is fabulous in it. Of course, they were both in A Beautiful Mind together as well. And those two, Paul Bettany and Russell Crowe, have such great on-screen chemistry together. I wish they would do another film. All right, let's do one more, then we'll call it a day.
Okay. The Dragon Knight. What will be the expectation for the Fall Guy opening weekend?
That is is this weekend the week it finally opens?
No, it's in May.
It's in May. That's right.
It's a week from Friday.
Boy, I really like this movie. Hold a second. Fall Guy opening weekend projections. They're saying, Forbes is saying it's going to make around 40 million opening weekend, and it deserves it if it does. It's a fun little movie. My big and only criticism of Fall Guy is it is too long. It is definitely a movie that's too long. It needed to be about 15 to 20 minutes shorter. It would have had much better pace, all that kind of stuff. That aside, it's a really fun little film. The dynamic between Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt is awesome. Absolutely awesome. And Kick-Ass's name, I keep forgetting. Aaron Taylor Johnson is really great in it as well. It's a wonderful movie. Go see it. Be warned, it's longer than it should be. That's my only criticism. I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine.
I was a little late on that, but there you go.
was thinking that this could be $1 billion movie. And I said, no, it's not. It's definitely not going to be $1 billion movie. But yeah, I'm seeing Box Office Pro is saying it's projecting $20 to $40 million opening weekend.
40 is respectable.
It's very, 40 would be great.
Yeah.
They can open to 40. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, for that kind of
I mean,
film.
Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare just opened to 8.5.
Yeah.
What
So
a
if you can-
shame.
if you can open to 40, that's amazing. So I think that'll be good for it, and we'll see how it does. All right, guys. And that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here, making this little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions, both on Super Chat and our beloved YouTube channel members. Number one, because you gave us fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. Don't forget to come on back and join us again tomorrow. In the meantime, I want to thank the people in the room with me, Ray Ora,
All right, see you later.
Jonathan Voico,
See you guys.
Robert Meyer Burnett.
Good night and good luck.
My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.